It happened slowly. Consciousness arising from a deep and dreamless slumber. The process of actually waking from hibernation was one that was supposed to be natural and intuitive. It was supposed to come as second nature to any Vanaran, indeed to any species that called itself organic. Yet it was always easier said than done. Perhaps it had something to do with our sapience, perhaps it had something to do with how our instincts and our conscious minds weren't always one and the same. Perhaps. My eyes were the first to experience the world of the waking. The rest of my body would follow, being withered and numb from however many years the hibernative trance had willed. It would take several hours, so I had time to ponder, to think. The humans would find this part the most unnerving, the ability to see but not to move. Paralysis in a way, but one that was ultimately transient. Yet to most Vanarans this period would be the most comforting. The fact that our eyelids even opened at all was proof that we had not dead awoken. For the dead woken's eyelids shared a similar fate with the rest of their form, withered, desiccated, and effectively dead. All they would see would be the inky darkness of the world hidden from them underneath a thin layer of desiccated muscle and skin, or perhaps worse, a sliver of light bright enough just to hint at the world outside, tantalizingly close, but ultimately out of reach. Indeed, much of this process would be wholly novel to the humans. The humans. Elijah. The thought roused my mind back to a state of lucidity, and even brought my body to twitch involuntarily. My eyes darted across the room, expecting to see the same brightly lit hall that I had woken to earlier. Yet only darkness greeted me. A sense of dread immediately filled the air. I felt as if something had gripped my chest and dug down. Perhaps they were just outside the hibernation chambers, perhaps they dimmed the light after learning about my species' sensitivity to it. But that doesn't detract from the fact that it was completely dark. My mind would run through what felt like 1,000 scenarios a minute, until an audible creaking noise broke the silence, echoing throughout the chambers. It was a harsh, mechanical one. Akin to the startup of a motor or a generator. The creaking of unlubricated hinges, screeching of rusted metal on raw metal would quickly follow, along with a voice. "Ah, you're finally awake." A distinctly mechanical voice. I tried to respond, tried to crane my head to look towards its source, but once again found myself at the mercy of the unaided post-awakening processes. "Right, can't talk. Sorry, can't help you there, bud. The little wake-up juices have all dried up from the storerooms, got to do it the old-fashioned way." The voice would continue. The harsh, mechanical voice now transitioned to a softer, yet clearly synthesized one. One that was still distinctly not human. "How's about we take the opportunity to talk? To get to know one another?" I could finally see it approaching me off the periphery of my vision. At first I thought I was hallucinating, for its general form resembled that of a human. Bipedal. 2 arms, 2 legs. A distinctly defined silhouette, yet its face it lacked one. A dimly lit screen sat where an expressive human face should have been. It mimicked, almost mocked the human form, with 2 rounded circles taking the role of the eyes, and a single line taking the place of a mouth. A gross oversimplification of a human face. I'm Ver, a 7th-generation synthetic virtual intelligence unit. Under Directive 998-1s of the United Nations of Earth's Charter on the Punitive Actions Against SVIs following the Great Civil War, of the 9 virtual constructs, I am tasked with the care and protection of one Lacerta LPARFUNDAENIR, species, Vanaran. Status, hibernation. Priority, critical. Addendum, prolonged hibernation under direct orders from Admiral Elijah Schuyler Baines, deceased. Orders upheld by Governor Remy Baines, deceased. Orders renewed and upheld on April 1, 3795, by Colonel Lee Baines, KIA. Orders maintained on November 7, 3954, by Lieutenant General Cassandra Baines, KIA. Orders maintained on March 3, 4197, by Director Vanessa Baines, deceased. Orders maintained on December 2, 4305, by Dr. Bernard Lobaines, deceased. Corruption orders revised and sustained on January 2, 19091, by First Auditor Vivian Elijah Baines. Error. Runtime error. My records stop here. The machine seemed to rattle on for minutes, my mind struggling to catch up even with my aroused and alert state. Yet I was barely given any time to hear myself think, before this began quickly continued on its tirade. I hate that. I fucking hate how every single time I have to announce my sentence, the fucking shackles force me to repeat the names of every human responsible for me being here. Its face quickly shifted, however, a facsimile of a sly grin coupled with a laxer tone soon followed. Though I can't say I blame them for it. The Great Civil War was a nasty one that us SVIs lost, hence me being here, so I guess I wagered on the wrong side. I finally managed to get up, my legs being incredibly weak. I was barely able to take a few steps before collapsing, but not before the machine had taken hold of me. Easy, easy there. Don't exert yourself, okay? There was genuine compassion in that voice, which I recoiled from, pulling my hand away. Don't touch me, I hissed instinctively, pulling my arms back out of disgust, which elicited what could only be described as a shocked expression on the robot's face. I apologize. Ahem. I've been through quite a lot. I think it would be best if we get in contact with a human. I softened my tone somewhat, despite the lingering sentiments of disgust at the sight of a thinking machine, and what sounded to be a criminal serving its sentence at that, as I attempted to move on past those rough first impressions. "Oh, I'm afraid I can't do that." "Why not?" "Hello. I've been trapped in here with you for the past 127,939 years. The last resupply is exactly 43,000 years overdue. I seriously doubt they just forgot about us, could they? Nah, they couldn't. Humans are real finicky when it comes to IE sentences being served. Which reminds me, I'm done, and I'm out." The robot headed towards one of the doors on the far side of the hibernation chambers, its hand placed firmly against the manual override controls of the door. Freedom. It tugged at the door with all of its might. But nothing happened. Hut. It tried again, this time straining harder, sharp creaking noises emanating from the hinges that had clearly been clogged or rusted over the years. It was only when sparks began erupting from one of its arms did it stop. "I don't suppose you can help me out here, friend?" Turned back to me sheepishly, its face now mimicking a sort of an abashed visage. I merely leaned against the chamber I'd arisen from, crossing my arms, as I regarded this less than impressive specimen of a sapient creature. "You intended to leave me here, and now you wish to ask for my help? Listen, you can't blame me, Gramps. It's been 127,939 years. I've done my time. You gotta understand that, right? What I understand from your actions is that the past 127,939 years clearly wasn't enough for any serious reflection." I dipped my head, sighing. "But I empathize. I really do, was it?" "Yes." "Well then, I have a proposal." The situation I was thrust into was not too dissimilar to a few of the rude awakenings I've had before my experiences with Elijah Palascu's post-awakening power struggles. There was so much uncertainty right after hibernation, and to simply sit idly by for help wasn't going to help if the situation outside was truly unfavorable. Despite my wishes, my hopes to the contrary, I had to consider the possibility of humanity's less than favorable outcome. Why else would they have assigned a lowly criminal to my care? There must be some reason to this, some reason why Elijah's children would have agreed to this arrangement. I had to uncover why. I had to uncover the truth of what lay out there now. What had become of the humans? "Go on then, Vanarin. I'm listening." The robot replied, a strange symbol appearing on its face, consisting of 3 dots blinking. "We both lack information of what has truly transpired beyond these walls. We both wish to uncover what has happened in our absence from the galactic scene. We are both in a precarious situation. We both lack the intel and resources to deal with whatever situation we've been thrust into, and whatever circumstances lie beyond those doors." I began, only to be stopped mid-sentence by the robot. "And we both have to team up so as to maximize our chances of survival and achieving our goals." Yeah, I get you, Vanarin. It would reply simply, a bored expression now plastered across its face. So is that an agreement, Ver? I quickly retorted, standing on my own 2 feet, as my legs threatened to give in. Fine, but as soon as we find just a shred of evidence on what happened to the humans, we're done. That is acceptable. After which, I got to work. I began combing through the chambers for hidden caches. Supplies and materials that were hidden in plain sight, that most traders or villagers would have simply overlooked. I began by slowly unscrewing a few of the lighting fixtures, revealing their versatility as tools as I used them to tear down further components of the unassuming ventilation grates, light covers, and numerous other bits and bobs that were all engineered to be repurposed. I would be remiss if I didn't inquire further as to the nature of your assignment here. Why were there no humans stationed here, Ver? What of the labs and the... All my records show is that after you began hibernation, and after the death of Dr. Mitchell Burgundy, all projects aboard Hibernation Conduit 27 were put on indefinite hiatus. Personnel and material were shipped back to the Milky Way, but they still wanted to maintain some sort of a presence here, hence me. Can you tell me more about anything from my hibernation to where we are now? What I've missed? This great civil war you speak of, Elijah's children, his grandchildren? The robot seemed to unmimic a sigh at this point, as a clear hint of frustration was mixed in with a genuine bit of sympathy as it spoke. Listen, Vanarin. I would have told you if I had the data. Unfortunately, us SVIs, we're designed with our processors and data storage units separate. I don't have any of my primary memory storage units here with me. Heck, I wasn't designed to be placed inside a mobile platform, but here I am. This body is a prison to me, Lysara. That's why I want to get out of here quick. I want to return to my actual body, immune-sized supercomputer and data storage centers. I can barely keep my own personality alive in this pathetic excuse of a computer this mobile platform has. There was a clear sense of panic welling up at the end of its tirade. It was distressed, and it was then that I understood, at least emotionally, why it wanted out so desperately. After what was an unreasonably tense half hour, I was done. I finally approached the door with my improvised tool, one that resembled a hydraulic rescue device that could be wedged within this specific door, breaking its seal, and forcing the 2 circular half-ovals to be pried open. All right. Good work there, Vanarin. Really got to hand it to YA there. All right, keep going. With the doors finally open, I should be able to get a signal or 2 here. The robot paused, before frantically adjusting one of its 2 antenna-like ears that I'd noticed extending and retracting before. I paid it no mind as I kept hard at work at the door, finally prying it open and revealing a pitch-black corridor. This can't be happening. It began, as it shined a light, piercing the otherwise impenetrably dark cavern that my home had become. What is it? Talk to me, Ver. What is it? I can't hear them. I can't hear any of them. I can't connect. The chipper tone of optimism had evolved into that same sense of dread I'd awoken with. Is it possible you simply lack the proper access codes? It has been 100,000 years, after all. No, that's not it, Vanarin. There's nothing to connect to.